Today is day 55 of our 365-day Bible read. Um, Today we'll be reading from Numbers 12 and 13, and then we'll do the Bible study for Numbers chapter 11, 12, and 13 from the Old Testament. And then we'll go on over to the New Testament and we'll read Mark chapter 5, and then we'll do the Bible study for Mark chapter 5. Yes, so I'm going to start doing these in the morning time before my household wakes up, because doing it like in the morning while my babies are eating breakfast doesn't work, because they're used to having like all of me, like all of my attention. And if my attention is on something else when they're awake, it doesn't work out. So I tried that a few days and it did not work out. And then during their nap time, when I normally do it every day during their nap, I'm doing something else during their nap time now, so I can't do these lives during that time. So I wake up every morning anyways to get my husband's stuff ready for work, and then I make the baby's bottle for when she wakes up, and I also will make like my son's fruit bowl so that he'll have that until breakfast is ready. So I do that every morning anyways. I'm up at this time, and then I'll just get back in bed and go back to sleep until like the whole household wakes up around like 7:30, between 7 and 7:30 every morning. So it's like if I'm already up anyways, to get all that stuff ready, I might as well just do my lives, do my Bible reading at this time. So this works for me. So yes, I'm going to get started for today. So we're going to be reading from the Old Testament, Numbers chapters 11, 12, and 13. And then we'll do the Bible study for Numbers chapters 11, 12, and 13. And then from the New Testament, we will read Mark chapter 5, and then we'll do the Bible study for Mark chapter 5. And I am following the Year Reading Bible schedule from esv.org. And I'm reading the Bible straight through from the beginning of the Old Testament, and then straight through from the beginning of the New Testament, a little bit of the Old Testament and the New Testament every day, but we're not skipping any books of the Bible, and we're not skipping any chapters. We're just reading straight through from the Old Testament and straight through from the New Testament, a little bit of each testament every day. So yes, so we're going to start with Numbers 11, 12, and 13, then do the Bible study, then go to the New Testament and do Mark chapter 5, and then do the Bible study. So let's get started. Numbers chapter 11. The people complain. And the people complained in the hearing of the Lord about their misfortunes. And when the Lord heard it, his anger was kindled, and the fire of the Lord burned among them and consumed some outlying parts of the camp. Then the people cried out to Moses, and Moses prayed to the Lord, and the fire died down. So the name of the place was called Taberah, because the fire of the Lord burned among them. Now the rabble that was among them had a strong craving, and the people of Israel also wept again and said, "Oh, that we had meat to eat. We remember the fish we ate in Egypt that cost nothing, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now our strength is dry, and there is nothing at all but this manna to look at." Now the manna was like coriander seed, and its appearance like that of bdellium. The people went about and gathered it and ground it in hand mills, or beat it in mortars, and boiled it in pots and made cakes of it. And the taste of it was like the taste of cake baked with oil. When the dew fell upon the camp in the night, fell with it. Moses heard the people weeping throughout the clans, everyone at the door of his tent, and the anger of the Lord blazed hotly, and Moses was displeased. Moses said to the Lord, "Why have you dealt ill with your servant? And why have I not found favor in your sight, that you lay the burden of all this people on me? Did I conceive all this people? Did I give them birth that you should say to me, carry them in your bosom, as a nurse carries a nursing child to the land that you swore to give their fathers? Where am I to get meat to give to all this people? For they weep before me and say, 'Give us meat that we may eat.' I am not able to carry all this people alone. The burden is too heavy for me. If you will treat me like this, kill me at once, if I find favor in your sight, that I may not see my wretchedness." Elders appointed to aid Moses. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Gather for me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people and officers over them, and bring them to the tent of meeting, and let them take their stand there with you. And I will come down and talk with you there. And I will take some of the Spirit that is on you and put it on them, and they shall bear the burden of the people with you, so that you may not bear it yourself alone. And say to the people, 'Consecrate yourselves for tomorrow, and you shall eat meat, for you have wept in the hearing of the Lord, saying, Who will give us meat to eat? For it was better for us in Egypt. Therefore the Lord will give you meat, and you shall eat. You shall not eat just 1 day, or 2 days, or 5 days, or 10 days, 20 days, but a whole month, until it comes out at your nostrils and becomes loathsome to you, because you have rejected the Lord who is among you, and have wept before him, saying, Why did we come out of Egypt?' But Moses said, 'The people among whom I am number 600,000 on foot, and you have said, I will give them meat that they may eat a whole month. Shall flocks and herds be slaughtered for them, and be enough for them? Or shall all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them, and be enough for them?' And the Lord said to Moses, 'Is the Lord's hand shortened? Now you shall see whether my word will come true for you or not.' So Moses went out and told the people the words of the Lord. And he gathered 70 men of the elders of the people and placed them around the tent. Then the Lord came down in the cloud and spoke to him, and took some of the Spirit that was on him and put it on the 70 elders. And as soon as the Spirit rested on them, they prophesied, but they did not continue doing it. Now, 2 men remained in the camp, one named Eldad and the other named Medad, and the Spirit rested on them. They were among those registered, but they had not gone out to the tent, and so they prophesied in the camp. And a young man ran and told Moses, "Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp." And Joshua the son of Nun, the assistant of Moses from his youth, said, "My lord Moses, stop them." But Moses said to them, "Are you jealous for my sake? Would that all the Lord's people were prophets, that the Lord would put his Spirit on them?" And Moses and the elders of Israel returned to the camp. Quail and the plague. Then a wind from the Lord sprang up, and it brought quail from the sea and let them fall beside the camp, about a day's journey on this side, and a day's journey on the other side, around the camp, and about 2 cubits above the ground. And the people rose all that day and all that night and all the next day, and gathered the quail. Those who gathered least gathered 10 homers, and they spread them out for themselves all around the camp. While the meat was yet between their teeth, before it was consumed, the anger of the Lord was kindled against the people, and the Lord struck down the people with a very great plague. Therefore, the name of that place was called Kibroth Hattava, because there they buried the people who had the craving. From Kibroth Hattava, the people journeyed to Hazeroth, and they remained at Hazeroth. Numbers chapter 12. Miriam and Aaron opposed Moses. Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Cushite woman whom he had married, for he had married a Cushite woman. And they said, "Has the Lord indeed spoken only through Moses? Has he not spoken through us also?" And the Lord heard it. Now the man Moses was very meek, more than all the people who were on the face of the earth. And suddenly the Lord said to Moses and to Aaron and Miriam, "Come out there. Come out, you three, sorry. Come out, you three, tent of meeting." And the three of them came out. And the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud and stood at the entrance of the tent and called Aaron and Miriam. And they both came forward. And he said, "Hear my words. If there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, make myself known to him in a vision. I speak with him in a dream. Not so with my servant Moses. He is faithful in all my house. With him I speak mouth to mouth, clearly and not in riddles, and he beholds the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses?" And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. When the cloud removed from over the tent, behold, Miriam was leprous, like snow. And Aaron turned toward, behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said to Moses, "Oh, my Lord, do not punish us because we have done foolishly and have sinned. Let her not be as one dead, whose flesh is half eaten away when he comes out of his mother's womb." And Moses cried to the Lord, "Oh God, please heal her, please." But the Lord said to Moses, "There had but spit in her face. Should she not be shamed 7 days? Let her be shut outside the camp 7 days, and after that she may be brought in again." So Miriam was shut outside the camp 7 days, and the people did not set out on the march till Miriam was brought in again. After that, the people set out from Hazeroth and camped in the wilderness of Paran. Numbers chapter 13. Spies sent into Canaan. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Send men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the people of Israel. From each tribe of their fathers you shall send a man, every one a chief among them." So Moses sent them from the wilderness to Paran, according to the command of the Lord, all of them men who were heads of the people of Israel. And these were their names. From the tribe of Reuben, Shammua, the son of Zachar. From the tribe of Simeon, Shaphat, the son of Hori. From the tribe of Judah, Caleb, the son of Jephunneh. From the tribe of Issachar, Igal, the son of Joseph. From the tribe of Ephraim, Hoshea, the son of Nun. From the tribe of Benjamin, Palti, the son of Raphu. From the tribe of Zebulun, Gadiel, the son of Sadi. From the tribe of Joseph, that is, from the tribe of Manasseh, Gadi, the son of Susi. From the tribe of Dan, Amiel, the son of Gemali. From the tribe of Asher, Sither, the son of Michael, from the tribe of Naphtali; Nabi, the son of Vavshi, from the tribe of Gad; Gil, the son of Maki. These were the names of the men whom Moses sent to spy out the land. And Moses called Hoshea and the son of Nun, Joshua. Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan and said to them, "Go up into Negeb and go up into the hill country and see what the land is, and whether the people who dwell in it are strong or weak, whether they are few or many, and whether the land that they dwell in is good or bad, and whether the cities that they dwell in are camps or strongholds, and whether the land is rich or poor, and whether there are trees in it or not. Be of good courage and bring some of the fruit of the land." Now the time was the season of the first ripe grapes. So they went up and spied out the land from the wilderness of Zin to Rehob, near Lebo Hamath. They went up into Negeb and came to Hebron. Ahiman, Sheshai, and Talmai, the descendants of Anak, were there. Hebron was built 7 years before Zohan in Egypt, and they came to the valley of Eshcol and cut down from there a branch with a single cluster of grapes, and they carried it out on a pole between two of them. They also brought some pomegranates and figs. That place was called the Valley of Eshcol because of the cluster that the people of Israel cut down from there. Report of the spies. At the end of 40 days, they returned from spying out the land, and they came to Moses and Aaron and to all the congregation of the people of Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. They brought back word to them and to all the congregation and showed them the fruit. And they told him, "We came to the land which you sent us. It flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. However, the people who dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large. And besides, we saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the Negeb. The Hittites, the Jebusites, and the Amorites dwell in the hill country, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the Jordan." But Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, "Let us go up at once and occupy it, for we are well able to overcome it." Then the men who had gone up with him said, "We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we are." So they brought to the people of Israel a bad report of the land that they had spied out, saying, "The land through which we have gone to spy it out is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people that we saw in it are of great height. And there we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, who come from Nephilim, and we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them." All right, so that was Numbers chapters 11, 12, and 13 from the Old Testament. And we're now going to do the Bible study for Numbers chapters 11, 12, and 13 from the Old Testament. All right. Numbers chapter 11 Bible study. What did the Israelites complain about? The people complained that they had no meat to eat. Who was Moses to use to help him with the workload? Moses was to choose 70 proven and known men of God who could help him. What did God do to these men? God put his spirit on the men who would help Moses. What food did God provide the Israelites? Quail were provided for the Israelites. What happened to those who had complained they were off in Egypt? Those who thought they were better off in Egypt were killed with a plague even while they ate. Okay, so that was the Bible study for Numbers chapter 11, and we're now going to do the Bible study for Numbers chapter 12. Numbers chapter 12 Bible study. Why did Aaron and Miriam speak against Moses? Miriam and Aaron criticized Moses because of the Ethiopian wife he had taken and were envious of his position. What happened to Miriam? God made Miriam a leper for 7 days for speaking against Moses. How did God describe Moses? God described Moses as the most humble man in all the earth, faithful and to whom he spoke plainly. All right, so that was the Bible study for what we read in Numbers chapter 12 today, and we're now going to do the Bible study for Numbers chapter 13. Numbers chapter 13 Bible study. How many men were sent to spy out the land of Canaan? 12 men went to spy out the land of Canaan, one from each tribe. What did they find? The men saw the land was fertile, flowing with milk and honey. What did most of the spies report to the people of Israel? Most of the men reported the land was good, but there were giants there who were stronger than they. Why did they say this? They were afraid of the people there and had no trust in God. All right, so that was the Bible study for Numbers chapter 13, and we're now going to go on over to the New Testament, and we're going to read Mark chapter 5, and then we'll do the Bible study for what we read in Mark chapter 5. Mark chapter 5. Jesus heals a man with a demon. They came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gerasenes. And when Jesus had stepped out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit. He lived among the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain, for he had often been bound with shackles and chains, but he wrenched the chains apart, and he broke the shackles in pieces. No one had the strength to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and on the mountains, he was always crying out and cutting himself with stones. And when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and fell down before him. And crying out with a loud voice, he said, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God. Do not torment me." For he was saying to him, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." And Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" He replied, "My name is Legion, for we are many." And he begged him earnestly not to send them out of the country. Now a great herd of pigs was feeding there on the hillside, and they begged him, saying, "Send us to the pigs, let us enter them." So he gave them permission, and the unclean spirits came out and entered the pigs, and the herd, numbering about 2,000, rushed down the steep bank into the sea and drowned in the sea. The herdsmen fled and told it in the city and in the country, and the people came to see what it was that had happened. And they came to Jesus and saw the demon possessed man, the one who had the legion, sitting there clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. And those who had seen it described to them what had happened to the demon possessed man and to the pigs. They began to beg Jesus to depart from their region. As he was getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed with the demons begged him that he might be with him. And he did not permit him, but said to him, "Go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." And he went away and began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and everyone marveled. Jesus heals a woman and Jairus' daughter. And when Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a great crowd gathered about him, and he was beside the sea. Then came one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus, by name, and seeing him, he fell at his feet and implored him earnestly, saying, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her so that she may be made well and live." And he went with him. And a great crowd followed him and thronged about him. And there was a woman who had had a discharge of blood for 12 years, and who had suffered much under many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard the reports about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his garment. For she said, "If I touched even his garments, I will be made well." And immediately the flow of blood dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. And Jesus, perceiving in himself that power had gone out from him, immediately turned about in the crowd and said, "Who touched my garments?" And his disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing around you, and yet you say, 'Who touched me?'" And he looked around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling and fell down before him and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." While he was still speaking, there came from the ruler's house some who said, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" But overhearing what they said, Jesus said to the ruler of the synagogue, "Do not fear, only believe." And he allowed no one to follow him except Peter and James and John, the brother of James. They came to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, and Jesus saw a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. And when he had entered, he said to them, "Why are you making a commotion and weeping? The child is not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him. But he put them all outside and took the child's father and mother and those who were with him and went in where the child was. Taking her by the hand, he said to her, "Talitha Kumi," which means little girl, "I say to you, arise." And immediately the girl got up and began walking, for she was 12 years of age, and they were immediately overcome with amazement. And he strictly charged them that no one should know this, and told them to give her something to eat. All right, so that was Mark chapter 5, and we're now going to do the Bible study for Mark chapter 5 for what we just read in the New Testament. Mark chapter 5, the Bible study. What was the name of the demon in the possessed man? The name of the demon was Legion. What did the demon want Jesus to let him do? He wanted Jesus to send him and the others into the swine that were there. How many demons were in the possessed man? There were about 2,000 swine that went into the sea and drowned. What was healed for the woman who touched the garment of Jesus? She had a flow of blood for 12 years. Whose daughter did Jesus raise from dead? Jesus healed the daughter of Jairus, the ruler of the synagogue. Why did Jesus tell them to tell no one about this? Jesus wanted the people to come to him of God rather than for the miracles he could do. All right, so that was the Bible study for Mark chapter 5. A quick recap for what we did today from the Old Testament. We read chapters 11, 12, and 13 from the Old Testament. And then we did the Bible study for what we read in the Old Testament, chapter 11, 12, and 13. And then we went on over to the New Testament and we read Mark chapter 5, and then we did the Bible study for Mark chapter 5. So yes, that completes our day. Again, I am following the year reading Bible schedule from esv.org. We started these readings in April, but I did not start from April's date. I started from January's date that's listed on there. That way we could be reading from the beginning of the Old Testament and the beginning of the New Testament. So we're reading straight through in order of the Old Testament and straight through in order from the New Testament as well. We're not skipping around. We're not holding out on any books or any chapter. We're reading straight through all of the Old Testament and all of the New Testament, and we'll read a little bit each day. So yes, and there are more books in the Bible of Old Testament than in the New Testament. So of the New Testament, we will sometimes split up like a chapter. We'll read half of a chapter in the New Testament one day and the other half the next day. That way, every day we'll be able to get through reading a bit of the Old Testament and the New Testament up until them up. I'm just following. And there are more books of the Old Testament than the New Testament, so it just has to be done that way. So yes, so that completes our day. I love you guys. God loves you. You matter. You are enough. You are worthy. You are valuable. You are beautiful. And God loves you, and so do I. And I will see you guys tomorrow for day 56. I'm going to continue to do these lives early in the morning at this time before my household wakes, because I wake up at to get things ready for my husband and my babies for before they wake up. And then I just go and lay back down until we all wake up. Or between 7 and 7:30 every morning. So I just figured since I'm up at this time anyways, it'll be good to just do my lives at this time while everyone is asleep, so I won't have any interruptions from my babies. So Yes, so I love you guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. God loves you. Stay blessed.